Is the resurrection of Jesus proof of him being the Messiah? First of all, there's problems with that to begin with because there is no proof of his resurrection. In the Christian world, they like to say the Shroud of Turin, but we've covered, dozens of videos totally dismantling that whole myth. It's fake. It's a fake setup. Everything about it is fake. Anyway, long story short, even if it was real, just a quick comment, even if the Shroud of Turin was real, it couldn't prove it belonged to a specific person. It could only prove that somebody died, and that was the cloth that was covering them. But there's lots of other problems with that. But the question is, isn't the resurrection of Jesus proof that he's Messiah?
Okay, 8:26 p.m. HWW Roar. Jesus rose from the dead as supportive evidence that he was a Messiah. It confirmed what he said was true. Comment?
So where does it say that the Messiah has to be resurrected?
Most of the people that comment in all of our shows, they have not studied TaNaCh. They've not studied what they call the Old Testament. They've only referred to it during their years of church duty and never really studied it. So that's why they're ignorant of those concepts, because they just were never taught them. They kind of hit certain aspects, certain verses here and there, and preachers build sermons on them. You know,
I'm sorry. I do that a lot. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're good. I was pretty much done.
Well, the thing is that the New Testament text is completely unreliable. Matthew disagrees with Mark, who disagrees with Luke, who disagrees with John. And the earliest gospel is Mark, that was written 30 years, 40 years after Jesus was dead and buried. Okay, the stories that disagree with each other were written to prove his messiahship. Christianity has to see those stories as being historically factual. We don't. So
yeah. So he goes on to say, does the Old Testament give you every single prophecy about the Messiah? It just tells you some of it. The thing about it is, everything that it does tell us about the Messiah, Jesus doesn't match any of it. So whether the Hebrew Scriptures tells us every single thing we need to know, or just a handful, Jesus still didn't work because he violated the ones that were actually there. You know.
Rhonda Raines at 828 writes, no other, quote, messiahs, end of quote, rose from the dead. Well, he wasn't a Messiah. Messiah means anointed. When was he anointed by a priest or a prophet to be royalty or to be anything?
And of course, I love that they will say, well, Mary, whichever one with the expensive perfume anointed him, but you have to be anointed by a priest, and they don't pour it on your feet; they pour it on your head. So that was,
and you're specifically designated by the point of the oil to be something or do something. Okay, even the rocks that created the altars were anointed, were messiahs.
Right.
Okay, but Jesus was not a Messiah; he was an anointed. And where does it say messiahs are supposed to rise from the dead?
Right. True. Yep. Very true.
And just because a person rises from the dead, as we've already said, doesn't make them a Messiah.
So Lightbright 831 says, you totally missed the point of his rising from the dead being evidence that all the other things he was saying were true. That's actually not true either, because first of all, if Torah states human sacrifice is forbidden, if Torah states that your sacrifices, they show you that they stay dead, and Jesus violates all this stuff, he can't violate Torah to try to prove to you something else. That's a bunch of Christian damage control. That's what you're saying is really nonsensical, Lightbright. I'm sorry, but you were just taught wrong.
You also have lying. John chapter 18, verse 20, Jesus answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, where the Jews always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. In secret have I said nothing. Really? I could have sworn, Jesus reveals himself to Mary Magdalene and says, but don't tell anybody.
If you enjoy this channel and the content, and it has changed your life, or perhaps the life of a loved one or a close friend, would you please consider supporting this work? You can click this link and it'll take you directly to my website with the donate button. Or there's a Patreon link and a mailing address for snail mail if you would prefer. If you do donate, please do me a favor and leave me a phone number where I can contact you and thank you properly. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025. Shalom.